So welcome guys, welcome to the fourth part of to learn Fusion 360. So I'm just gonna say I'm sorry that I didn't posted a video in a while ago because I was busy with some college processes. So today we are going to learn components and bodies. What is the difference between components and what are bodies? So what a body is anything which is not present in the real world. For example, whatever we make in Fusion 360 at first is a body which cannot be used to make assemblies, and on the other hand components are those which we make from bodies. Like we first make a body and then we create it into a component, and then we assemble many other components into one assembly. So today we are going to learn how to make assemblies and how to convert bodies into components. So let's start. So there are two ways how you can make a component. First is you have to create new component. You have to click here, assemble, and then new component. Now it will ask the name of the components. For example, if I type cylinder, then it will automatically create a column. So after that, whatever I draw or whatever I make will be considered as my component. So let's make a cylinder, the diameter of 60 mm, then extrude. Now this is my component. We forgot to shell, as we saw in the last part. If you have to create empty or hollow objects, you have to use shell command. So we have given a 50 mm thickness to it. So this is our cylinder, and the next component which I'm going to show you is the second way of making components. So first what you do, first you create a body. So I'm going to make a piston which will be a body, but I will convert it into a component. So I will choose this plane as a reference. Okay, now I will extrude this profile, and now to create this body into component I will select new component here. So this is the second way of making components. So this is the second component, but if you have to find this, you will find this under this column, because we have created this component after after clicking new component. So after clicking new component, everything which you will make will start to get listed under this, because we first made this. Now these are two components which will make a cylinder and piston assembly. So what we need to do is we have to create a motion. Like these two are completely different bodies and they are not attached to each other. See, now if I move them, they will move independently, but in order to create motion between them, we have to assemble them. So there are two types of assemblies. First is the joint assembly and second is as built joint. So what we when do we use joint or as built joint? So this is the first case where I will explain what are as built joint used for. So what are as built joints? When you create an assembly, like all the parts are there on their required position. Like this cylinder and piston are in the position which I require, like they are already there. So for these parts I use just built or as built joint, because the parts are already there and you just need to add motion. But if the parts are away from each other, like this cylinder, I've made this cylinder somewhere else on the grid, and then I have to make assemblies, then we have to go for joint. So first we will go for joint. Now when you press on joint, you have a dialog box where it asks you to mention the two components you want to join. So first I will specify my joint type of motion I want. So there are total 7 types of motion in Fusion 360. You can choose any of them, but since we want slider motion between these two, we will select slider, and then we will select the first component. Now while selecting the first component, it will ask me where do I want the joint. So I will click on this circle, and then I will select the second component, and there also it will ask me where it wants the joint. So I will select this circle. Now it will give me a little preview of how the joint will work, and depending on the axis you can change what axis you want, or you can flip it also. And now since it's a cylinder, it will show me opposite sides when I flip it. So that's all we wanted. Now after specifying the joint, you will see that it is still moving like a whole piece. Why? Because there is no ground in real life. When a stationary object is there, it has some weight. It is stationary by the force of gravity. But here in Fusion 360, it's like in outer space. So we have to fix this body. In order to fix this body, we have to first ground the element. Now this element is grounded, and only the second element can move. So this is why we have to attach certain objects to the ground, because we need to see the motion. So we created a cylindrical joint. So there are many more joints you can make. For example, now I am creating a component from a body, but let's just start making another assembly, because whatever I make will be listed under this assembly. So I will start new component, and now it will ask me if I should make this another component, but we have to cancel. We have to make an entirely new assembly. So I will create another component, a sliding plate. So we will make another component by making bodies. Now the type of joint we are going to make is a planar joint or a slider joint. So draw like a rectangle, simply extrude it. Okay, now we've extruded this. Now this triangle this cuboid, this is a body. Now in order to change this, I have to make this a component. So left click on it and create component. Now this one will be a component, and this can be assembled. So let's make another, or we can duplicate it by using copy command, which we learned in last part. So we will check the create copy box, and then we will just extract another copy out of it. Now what I want is there's an important thing to understand, that whenever I copied it, it already created a component. It did not created a body. So the software is smart enough to understand that. And another thing which I wanted to mention is this. What you see here is the timeline. So whatever you make or whatever you do in Fusion 360, this timeline will keep a track of it. And if you want to change the timeline, you can change the sketch, the timeline. For example, I want to change the dimension of this, and now this cannot be changed because I already mentioned it. So it cannot be double cross checked or double dimensioned. So let's change another thing. Now this circle, This was also over dimensioned because I specified it. So this extrude, okay, this extrude, I in the previous timeline I extruded it 120 meters. Now if I shorten it by 60 and press OK, then it will be changed in the real timeline. So anything, any sketches also, if you draw another sketch and press OK, it will be changed in the real timeline. So that is a really helpful feature in Fusion 360. Now back to our assembly part, we are going to assemble these two plates. So go into, so these two are away from each other, which means we have to use built joint, sorry, capture, always capture the position, because if you don't, the joints will go back to their original places. So I want this cuboid's center to be joined with this cuboid's center. Now because I didn't specified it already, specified a joint for me which is slider, but I want a rigid joint. Rigid joint is used when you want to glue two components together, or you want a rigid motion between them. If you use revolute, then it will revolve around it, and the revolute joint is also available in cylinders. Also cylindrical joint, it will move in a cylindrical manner, and slider joint. Now if I want to change the position of this, I will change the axis. Now after changing the axis, it will move in the certain direction, and if you want to flip it, the surface will flip back to like a mirror. See, now the surface has some thickness. Now when I flip it, it will go inside it, because these are not real objects, these are just graphics. Okay, now this will also move, so I have to assign one to the ground, capture position, and then the first one will move. Okay, so and that's all guys. So that's was the assembly part. We will know about constraining motions, or how to apply motion links to the objects in the next part. So keep practicing, and if you have any doubts, or if you have any suggestions for the video, please mention down in the link below. And if you want me to post videos about how to create any specific object like a torch or a charger or a phone or a car maybe, I can post tutorials about making cars. So if you want them, please mention down in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you learned anything or you liked the video, then please hit the like button, and please subscribe. Please share this video, and yeah, that's all. Thanks.